Welcome to Stitch Crazy. My name is Bee, and today we are going to be making fabric necklaces. And this is a sample of what the necklace is going to look like when we are done. So the supplies that we're going to need for our program today, we will need fabric, which you can buy these fat quarters, and you can get them at Joann's, Walmart, Hobby Lobby, wherever you would like to buy your fabric. I guess the more wild, the more decorative your necklace is going to look. This one here that I did for this necklace is this fabric here. So you can see how it's changed a little bit when you're putting in a necklace. Okay, so we will need our fabric, and then we're going to need, of course, our cutting board, a cutting ruler, our fabric. We're going to need rope, nylon rope, or this is a cotton rope. There's different widths for this, 3/8 or a 1/2 inch, depending on how thick you want your necklace. We need a little teeny bit of glue, and we'll need pliers. We'll need some crimp rings, lobster claws, some jump rings, and to accessorize your necklace, you can get this copper tubing at like Ace Hardware, any hardware store, and you can get them in different widths as far as the opening. And then beads. And I have found a couple of these beads. These are hard to find, so I looked all over and I finally found them in Bismarck at a place called Chick Beads. And let me see, a loop turner to help you turn your project inside out. Okay, so those are a few things that you're going to need for this project. So now when we have gotten our fabric that we want to use, we are going to take that fabric and we are going to, I'm going to move my supplies out of the way here. We'll need pins too, I guess. And I use some toothpicks for when I'm gluing those crimp rings because it makes it a little easier for you. Okay, so I'm going to push this aside. And these fat quarters are kind of nice because they're smaller pieces. And then you can just lay your fabric out. And then what we want is about 3 inches by, and it depends on how long you want your necklace. This one is about 20 inches long for this particular necklace. Okay, so to save time, you just take your ruler and you measure it accordingly. I first straighten my fabric and then I measure it. This particular ruler is 3 inches by 18. So of course it's about 1 inch short. So I just work with it as far as cutting my strip. Here's a sample of my strip already cut. Okay. So after we've gotten our fabric cut, we're going to decide, like I said, there's different widths of this cotton cording, and this is a 1/2 inch one right here, and this one is a 3/8 inch. So then what we would do is we would take our fabric and put our cording in here and see how it fits our piece. And then this is where I would take my pins and kind of judge how you want it, kind of fairly loose in here but yet tight, or snug I should say. And we're going to leave a little bit at the end for putting our crimp rings on. So what I normally do is I just take my pins here, and when we're sewing this we're going to need to leave a little opening, but so I'll just take my cording, and it's about a 1/2 inch because of the width of the fabric that we've cut for the sewing seam. But if you think that's going to be too tight, then you can just always have your seam just a little bit thinner. Okay, so this is what it looks like after we get it pinned. And then I'm going to take my cording out. Okay, and then I want to sew both of my ends shut, and then I want to leave like a little opening somewhere along the road here, and then we'll just have to hand stitch that afterwards. So I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine, and I am going to kind of round the edge as I go here, not square, so I'm just going to kind of round it as I go. Okay, and I usually try to back stitch right at the end so it's secure. And then I'm just going to kind of round it. So we're just going to kind of round it as we go around the edge, and then we're going to follow to the pins. I'm going to go a ways, and then I'm going to back stitch because I want to leave a spot for an opening. So then I'm going to take this, and instead of breaking the thread, I'll just, and I would say leave about 2 inches or so, because you want to be able to get your cord in there easy enough, but yet don't leave too big of an opening as far as having to hand stitch it afterwards. So again, I'm going to back stitch to secure it, and then I'm going to sew the rest of the way. And I follow my pins for a guide as far as, and you can tell once on your foot feed where your fabric is, you can kind of line it up that way. Okay, and then at the end again, we're just going to kind of round it. And then I'm going to back stitch again for securing it. Okay, and that's really all the sewing as far as on your machine is done. Okay, so this is what your piece looks like. You have, and what I do here too is when I'm ready to turn it, I round my edge so that when I turn it inside out, I don't have all this thickness on the inside. Okay.
Get 3 months free access on all lines plus a new 4G smartphone for only $4.99 a month. 2 great offers with Valley Cellular. Call Valley today at 437-2615 to take advantage of this great deal.
Okay, so when I sewed this, I have these square points here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of round it with my scissors so that there's not so much fabric on the inside when you're turning it. Okay, so then we'll just throw that away. Okay, so now we want to turn our piece. We have this little opening here, and what we're going to do is we're going to kind of open up this fabric. We can here. And then we're going to kind of push that to the center. This is where we have what we call a loop turner. This is where this is going to come in handy. We'll just take it and we'll push that fabric through to the opening. And then we'll pull it through like this. And we'll do the same with this second side. We'll take, and it just takes a little knack to get this going, but we'll just kind of push this middle part in here. And we'll use this loop turner for pushing this fabric, kind of get it going here. And we'll get this fabric, we just kind of keep pushing it through until you get down to the end, and then it comes out so you have like two pieces like this, and then we'll just pull it down. And there we go. We got your piece that you're going to be working with as far as the necklace. So now that we have this sewn and we're getting it turned inside out, we'll make sure that our ends are, we can use this loop turner to help us get our ends kind of straightened out. And same with down at the bottom here. We'll go back down here and we'll get our corners kind of pushed out so that when we're using this cording, it's going to be easier to put it through. Okay, and these cords are taped on the end, and the reason that they're taped on the end, if you don't, they kind of like explode, and so then it would be much harder to get them in there. So I'm going to push this through, and there again, we're gonna. This takes a little bit of. It just takes a little time to get your cord down to the bottom, and you'll push it down and then pull your fabric up. I don't know if I can.
As the demand for advanced broadband and cloud-based services continues to grow, so does our commitment to you, our members. We are committed to providing you with the newest technologies and fastest broadband speeds available anywhere. Watch for the exciting details on faster speeds and new broadband packages coming soon.
Okay, so we're going to push this through, and this takes a little time. There, that's, you can take this and just kind of scrunch it down at the very tip and then hold on to it and bring your fabric, and that will get this down a little easier. Just scrunch it up at the end, hold on to the end, and pull your fabric. So this just takes a little bit of time to get the cording into the necklace. Okay, so now when we've got, we're at the end, then we're going to put the other end into the end of it here, and we'll get that pushed through, and then we'll adjust it accordingly. Okay. So now what I would do, okay, now we got our cording into our piece of fabric. So this is what it looks like. Okay, we're gonna have a little opening here. And what I would do is I would just take thread and then just hand stitch it closed for that. Then our next step is to decide what you would like to put as a decoration for the beads here, or the copper tubing. You could put the copper tubing, and you could put a bead on each side if you wanted to. And you're gonna have to just work with this. Once you get a handle on it, then you can pull the bead through. Or you can just have the bead instead of the copper tubing. You know, if you want to put 1 or 2 beads on here, you could do that, or just the one bead. We'll just put the one bead on here for now. Okay, we'll kind of want to get it in the middle. And the thing is, you can change it if you want, because once you have these clasps on the end, you can still get your jewelry on. So tomorrow, if I want the copper tubing on, I can just put the copper tubing and take the bead off. Okay, so there we go, it's in the middle. Now, what we're gonna do, you need very little of this glue. But what this is for is, let me grab my, here we go. These are called crimp ribbon ends. And it's because they have like a rough edge here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this glue, I'm going to take my toothpick, and you don't need a whole lot, but yet you want enough that it's gonna stick. So then I take and rub this glue inside here before I put it on my fabric. And it'll dry, so if it's sticky on the end, when it dries, you can just rub that off. Okay, so then we take this and put it on the very end of this fabric here. And then I'm going to use this pliers, but I have a piece of fabric here that I'm just going to put over this to kind of protect it. And then I'm going to press this down to make it tight. And I'm using this so that I don't scratch my crimp ends. Okay, so then I'm going to do that on the other side. I'm going to put glue inside this crimp ribbon end. And then I'm going to stick it on the fabric. And I'm going to use this fabric to protect the, and then I'm going to squeeze it so that it's tight on here. Okay, so that's what that looks like, those ribbon ends. Okay, and then once they are dry, and I guess I can put them on now too, we are going to take a lobster claw, one lobster claw, and one ribbon jump ring. So I'm going to open up this. Just going to grab one out of here. And there's different sizes, so I'm going to try and get a smaller one. There's like 3 different sizes in here. I'll just grab this one. Okay. And I'm going to close this glue up so it doesn't get dried out. Okay, so then I need one of these lobster claws. And then this is where this tool comes in handy for pressing those crimp rings and for getting these lobster claws on. Okay, I'm gonna need a ring for that too. So then this has a little opening. Get that so we can hook it on. We'll open this up a little bit. Just enough to put it through this crimp ring. Oops. And then we'll want to tighten it again. We'll want to get it even so that this isn't going to come apart.
Valley Telecommunications, the home team advantage.
Before we close this ring, we're going to add the lobster claw on here. And then we are going to close this ring. Okay, and then we'll want to put a ring on the other side so that we have something for this lobster claw to connect to. And then we'll just squeeze that shut. Like I said, there's different sizes of rings, so depending on what you want to have on your necklace. And then there we go. Your necklace is finished. I hope you've enjoyed our show today, and if you have any ideas or suggestions or would like to be a host on our show, please call us at 437-2615. Thank you.